So he starts eating white people and he starts growing a beard, and his like disgust at the idea of being able to grow a beard was so funny to me.
I know.
He's like, oh,
he was
no.
disgusted.
No.
He was like, no, I can't. I know. He was like disgusted.
Oh, it was so funny.
It was
so well done. Welcome back. Episode 4 of Plot Twist. Can you believe it? I can't believe it. That's so much.
I can't believe it.
That's so crazy to me.
I know.
4 months. I feel like
4 months.
we're gonna hit episode 10 and I'm gonna be like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Why is this still happening? But here we are. Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back.
We are recovering still from last episode. Riley Sager's The Only One Left.
I can't
Hello,
get it out
Riley.
of my head.
Honestly. And I have his new book, The Unknown, on pre-order, and I'm so excited for it.
Yeah, that looks really good.
So if you haven't checked out that episode, it's currently live. Go check it out. I mean, we have a lot of fun here, so it's definitely worth your time, I would say. But I'm biased, so who knows? But this month, we are moving into straight horror. This was not a thriller by any means.
No.
We are reading The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones.
I listen with a good heart.
I listen with the only heart I have. I mean, I guess we can start with just general thoughts, feelings, concerns.
You know, I read this in 2 days because I wanted to finish it in time for today. And this is definitely one of those books that you'd want to read slowly. I think this is like one that you savor. There's some books that are like a shot, you know, and then there's some books that are sippers, and this is a sipper.
Yeah.
The way it's written is a little bit difficult to read quickly. I feel like that is part of the reason why you don't want to read it.
Yeah.
It's like I caught myself literally in my head, like in my mind voice, reading it in like old timey accents. Like so there's Lutheran pastor, it's his diary. His great granddaughter finds the diary, or it is brought to her to like read it. And so it's written in the late 1800s, and he's speaking or writing in a very specific tone. And then he has a Native American man come in to his church. That is also interesting to decipher because of the way that he describes things. What was it, like Wag's Tale or something? It's like you have to keep all the animals straight.
That was confusing for me, I'll be honest. I did have to really think about that.
You have to slow down. You literally have to slow down when you're reading it. So I think once I got into the flow of their voices, I actually got annoyed when it switched back to modern day. I'm like, ew.
Okay, we'll talk about once we get to the end of the book. We're going to talk about it because I have feelings about this. But let's start at the top. So we have Etsy Beaucarn, who is a professor at the University of Wyoming Laramie, and she is on the brink of losing her job. She needs to get tenure, otherwise she's going to lose her job. And the only way for her to get tenure, like with any academic, is to publish work. And she hasn't published any work. She hasn't been approved to publish any work. So she is given this diary wrapped in deer skin, and they found it when they were demolishing a church to build an old folks home. And they were able to trace the writer of the diary back to her as her 3 times great-grandfather, Arthur, who was a Lutheran pastor in Montana during like Manifest Destiny and like the taming of the West, as they call it.
It was
and
like
so
she taming
is the taming of the West. Yeah.
Chaos creation.
Awful. So obviously this is, a diary that's 100 years old. It's falling apart. They scan it, and she takes the scanned pages and starts to transcribe it into her computer. And that is the bulk of the book, is the transcribed diary of Arthur. The Arthur character I love.
It was.
I'm not sure why, though. Like, there was something about him that from the very beginning, I was like, what is going on with this person?
Both characters are seriously amazing. They were so compelling. and they were polar opposites in like every way you could be a polar opposite. So he's in his church one day and this man walks in and he's like got
a Native American,
sunglasses on.
which is weird because it was a white settlement. So he immediately stuck out that there was a Native American dressed like a priest. I feel like that's not talked about enough, that like he walks in dressed like a priest, because in Arthur's mind, this person like didn't know how to dress at church, but he saw him. So he's like, oh, he's trying to dress like me. Ooh.
Right.
You know,
And so
imitation is the most sincere form of flattery.
right. So this man wants to basically confess, and there's this like he's like, I'm not like a Catholic priest, but sure, if you want to like tell me what's going on, like I can, you know, bless you or whatever. And so this man starts telling him his story, but just in
Bless you or
different
whatever.
parts. You or whatever. And so as they're going about their confession every week, because this happens over several weeks, Arthur is like devouring all these treats that his parishioners brings him, and the man just holds it. He's very polite, but he never partakes in it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really interesting interplay thematically, metaphorically,
my God,
because what do we learn? But this man,
he's a vampire.
He's a vampire.
He's a vampire.
Let's just jump into it.
I mean, they jump into it in the book. It's not like it's a surprise. The end of the first
confession.
The first confession is he's like, as I lay dying, the Catman's blood entered my mouth. So we have the Catman, who is, so Goodstaff, who is the Native American, is with 3 of his like hunting buddies, I guess. And they're trying to find this child who murdered a American like soldier because of a massacre that happened of the Blackfeet people. And so they're trying to find him before the American soldiers find him, and they're off trying to figure out what's going on. And they run across a wagon of some kind, and there's a battle that happens between the soldiers that are with the wagon and then other American soldiers who are posing as Blackfeet, trying to like instigate in order to justify another massacre. So these other American soldiers fire on the wagon. Everyone dies.
Yeah. It's another massacre. And there's this thing in a cage, and it looks like a Catman, which is why he gets the name Catman.
Because he's hissing.
And he looks a little cat-like.
Yeah.
And so he's like, you know, he attacks him, and he gets the Catman's like blood in his mouth as he's dying, which then turns him into a vampire.
Yeah.
I think his vampire journey is really interesting. So the rules of him being a vampire, I think it's like probably one of the more interesting interpretations of this in like vampire lore.
I loved it.
So whatever he eats, he becomes like that more physically. And so if he eats something that has horns, he starts to like grow little horns. And if he, you know, eats a mouse, he like gets a little mouse-like. If he eats his own people, he will look like himself. He will maintain his form. If he eats a white man, he will start to look white and grow a beard.
But
which he
that was my
doesn't
favorite
usually
part.
have a beard.
He starts off his vampire journey eating elk, I think is what it is, or antelope. And he starts growing the horns, and that's when he realizes like, okay, I need to eat people. So he starts eating white people. And he starts growing a beard, and his like disgust at the idea of being able to grow a beard was so funny to me.
I know.
He's like, oh
he
no.
was disgusted.
No.
He was like, no, I can't. I know. He was like disgusted.
That was so funny.
It was
so well done, because like obviously we live in a time where, I mean, I know like Jesse and I grew up in the age of Twilight. Like we've been around like reinterpretations. Everyone's been around reinterpretations of vampires for everybody, whether you're like older and you're like of the like Lestat age, or I don't know what the kids are reading these days that have vampires, but I'm sure vampires are still a thing. Like every vampire story like has its own rules, because nobody follows the Dracula rules, because the Dracula rules are so basic.
Boring.
Like, they're boring. Sorry, they're boring. I love Dracula. It's one of my favorite books. Everybody sort of has to take what that basis of vampire is and then tack on other rules based on how the mythology has changed over time. And I think this idea of you are what you eat, basically, is so fresh and so clean, and I loved it so much. And I think it really plays into one of the overall themes of this book, that anybody has the capacity to become a monster based on their actions. Like,
totally.
that
And what
nobody
is
is
actually, yeah.
that nobody is without fault, but you are only ever a manifestation of the actions that you take throughout your life. And that
Wow, that's a
becomes
good way of putting it.
clearer towards the end. And so for me, reading it, this idea of like he is becoming whatever he's eating is a representation of that, like a physical representation of that throughout the book. And then when we do get to the end and we have the big reveals, like that tied it back for me. And so yes, I thought it was very interesting as from just like a purely like mythological perspective, but I also think thematically he's doing something really interesting with the way that it's being tied into like the morality of the story. One of the pull quotes on the back of the book that I think is important here is Stephen Graham Jones is a literary master who just happens to write horror. And I think that is so true.
Absolutely.
Like,
yeah,
we obviously read a lot of like thriller horror here, and we love the like campy, stupid fun. This was not campy, stupid, or fun. It was
no, I like wanted to cry several times because it was like so moving because of like, you know, the tragedy of like what occurred in our country's history. It's like it really does kind of shine a light on, you know, the impacts of, you know, the Indigenous people. And also it's not just like how it affected them like as a whole, but it like really makes it personal, which is like deeply moving.
And what I loved about it was very clearly like thoroughly researched. I mean, obviously Stephen Graham Jones has been writing Native American literature for 20 years. He knows what he's talking about.
Right.
And so when they're describing all of these actions, and especially like the death of the buffalo, you go into it with an understanding that this person isn't going to sensationalize the story of the Native Americans. Like, these things happened. Obviously, no one became a vampire, but like a massacre of people who were dying from smallpox. Based on my understanding of Native American history and also my understanding of Stephen Graham Jones, I'm going to say that was probably based on a historical event. Like,
I mean,
he's not making that up for shock value.
Right.
There's plenty of other shocking things in this book. He's not making up a massacre of Native Americans for the shock. That happened. I'm certain of it. And if I'm not right, if there was no massacre of sick Native Americans, please leave me a comment, because educate me on that. But I'm pretty sure, I mean, this country was built on like blood.
Yeah,
there's no other way around it.
There's this line, I wanted to like pull it up because I thought it was really good. You killed this man and his children because I fathered them, I asked. Because all of your blood has to spill, Good Stab said, himself again, grim and vengeful. When will it be enough, I asked. When will the Nepequans have enough of our land, he asked back. And so, and there's another line where they're talking about like how much blood does it take to build a country or something like that. And we had talked about this one picture kind of off camera where it has like all the bison that the US government killed as part of the campaign to basically displace the Indigenous population. And I feel like that picture is such a good reminder of how brutal it was and how pointless it was and just how like devastating. It was a complete massacre of not just people, but animal populations of the land. I mean, the Great Depression is literally like the Dust Bowl is literally nature falling apart because people were farming where they weren't supposed to farm and, you know, tilling the land that it shouldn't have been tilled. So the impacts of like the 1800s and the Manifest Destiny really continued on well into the next century and displaced many people for like 100 years. There was just a massive displacement issue. So it's really interesting to see how, something where people were like, oh yeah, we're going to just follow our dreams and look for a new life. And it's like, okay, how many lives were destroyed because of this? Like completely destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Generations of people wiped out. I mean, one of the things that really struck me in this, and this is because I'm coming into this with very little understanding of Native American history. And that's my own fault. I need to do more research on this. But one of the things that I did not connect clearly to the destruction of the buffalo population was the amount to which the Native Americans relied on them as a food source. And this idea that they were taking the buffalo, skinning them for their hides, and then lacing the meat with poison so that nobody could eat it.
Yeah.
Was just so up. Like,
it's insane.
I'm having a hard time being fun recording this.
This is literally not a fun book. It's like an important book though.
Yeah.
Like I feel like this is going to be one of those books where it's like, this isn't going to be one that stays safe on my shelf. This is going to be one that I let people borrow, tear it up.
Yeah.
I don't care. I feel
I'll buy another copy. I'm not going to feel bad about buying another copy. I'll keep buying copies of this.
I think this book is really important for understanding the United States. I think it's important for understanding our history. And I think that what I kind of was talking about earlier with appetite, I think that's a huge theme in this book is the appetite. So Good Stab, he had this unsatiable hunger, but he didn't want to eat. And then you have the pastor who doesn't have this issue, right? He's not a vampire, but he is gluttonous. And it's such a reflection of what is happening on a macro scale.
Oh my God.
Where you're seeing the white man truly gluttonous for the land, gluttonous
with no
for everything.
self-control.
No self-control.
Oh, I didn't even think about that because he gets that cake and eats it in a day. And he keeps talking about how he's getting all this good food and he's like, I'm going to ration it. I need this to last the whole week. And then he doesn't eat the whole thing in a day. That's so interesting. I did not make that connection.
And that's where this whole vampire thing really comes into play. It's who's the real vampire? Who is the real vampire?
You just blew my
It gives me chills. It's so good. It's so good. But I also want to cry because it's so sad. I might cry.
Oh.
This is our saddest episode.
My God, after the absolute chaos that was the only one left, and we're just here no, guys, this book's really important. Please read it.
Crying.
It's so good. Jeez.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's so true.
Huge.
He can't stop himself. This is Arthur. This is three persons, as Good Stab calls him, because he's a priest, and his understanding of a priest is the Holy Trinity. So his name for Arthur is three persons, which I found interesting. But
I think it's hilarious. I think that's it's a mocking nickname. He's mocking him. He's absolutely mocking him.
Yeah. He's like, you're stupid. You think you're three people. It's great.
Yeah, your beliefs are a mockery. You think you're this good person that believes in this Trinity. You are the devil. There's a part that scared me so bad. And it's the part where he's walking into the church. He walks into three persons. Yeah. He walks into the church and he sees Jesus on the cross. But there's not supposed to be Jesus on the cross. It's Good Stab. He's up there hanging out, literally once again making a mockery of it. And at first you're kind of whoa, okay, vampire, you get the animosity, whatever, but there's another layer to it because you realize that it's not just him walking into some random church and giving his confession. It's a confrontation.
Yeah.
It is.
So let's go through. Let's rapid fire the first half of the book because the first half of the book is great, beautiful. The exposition in it is wonderful. The back half of the book is where shit gets weird.
Something that I think is really interesting. Also, going to talk about mythology and lore again.
My glasses.
Okay. So obviously we've all heard of skinwalkers. It's not a crazy new thing. No one's never, if you haven't, skinwalker is just something that you'll hear about close to like a res. Like there will be something outside the car or someone will seem there's something off about them. And it really reminded me of the skinwalker thing. And it also is really interesting to me because you hear about it in the like Native American lore and mythology, but you're not hearing about it really outside of that. And I think that was a really interesting choice for him to say, I will only feed on my own because I only want to look like my people. And it sort of reminded me of the skinwalker thing. I'm like, I don't know if that's like kind of what his interpretation is or like what he's trying to like interpret it as. But it was kind of interesting that it's like, it's really only happening to like his tribe or nearby tribes. I don't know. I thought that was like an interesting little.
No, I think that that's good. And I think that that is part of it. I think that part of the conversation is about what one has to do to survive in these situations and losing your sense of self in order to survive, because he is very conflicted by his need to feed on his own people. And even as he realizes that it's sort of his only opportunity to stay Blackfeet, he says multiple times, like, because of the actions that I have to take in order to remain looking like this, like I might look like Blackfeet on the outside, but I've lost the soul of a Blackfeet on the inside.
It's that uncanny thing that you will hear about with that like skinwalker discussion.
But so he goes through all that. Meanwhile, and that's all in the confession that's being given to 3 persons. And meanwhile, in present day, which is 1912, there's stuff happening in the town. And 3 persons is going through the town, and a Pinkerton man has shown up because there have been bodies found, skinned and exsanguinated. So the blood has been drained. So obviously it's, the vampire. And their faces have been painted. And he's starting to sort of make that connection that the bodies that are being left by Good Stab. But at this point, he doesn't necessarily believe that what he's hearing from Good Stab about his like vampirism is real. He thinks that it's like a metaphor that he's drawing out.
Like, I don't know if I really believe this, but nice story. Like, it's basically like not taking the like Native American guy seriously, like a classic scenario.
Yeah, it's horrifying. And so then the Pinkerton man is there, and he's like, we have reports out of San Francisco that this man and his 3 sons have been taken or have disappeared. And the bodies that have been found outside of your small Montana town are the bodies of those people from San Francisco that have disappeared. And so we're trying to figure out who's doing this. And not Good Stab, 3 persons is, in his internal monologue, he like knows that it was Good Stab that did it, but he also doesn't want to give up Good Stab because he wants to hear the rest of the story.
That appetite, he's insatiable.
Yeah, it's insatiable.
It's like he literally has an opportunity to do the right thing and turn in someone who's like brutally murdered 3 people. And instead he's like, but I want what I want.
Yeah.
He's
being selfish.
It's really
in that
interesting. Moment. It's really, also the religious element. It's like, bro, you haven't done the right thing one time. Like you're preaching the word, but like you are constantly doing horrible things. Like you're not protecting your community.
No, and I don't think he even sees necessarily his parishioners as his community.
No.
Like he talks a lot about how he's like has taken on this life of being a pastor in order to absolve himself of sins. And we don't know what those sins are yet. But it's atonement. I think he views his role in the community as sort of a means to an end. He's being, again, selfish with these people's lives. Like these people that believe in him and what he's saying so, for lack of a better word, religiously. But he's not taking it seriously. And he like talks about how, he's giving his sermons and he's sort of going through the motions and he's understanding what he needs to do, but he's not like actively doing any good for the community. And that's clear based off of his actions. Like he's not out there walking children in nature. He's not like helping the sick. He is receiving the food from the people and doing his due diligence as a pastor. Like when the bodies are found, he's helping to bury them, but he's not a part of the community.
He doesn't even bless the bodies, really.
No.
Like he says, I'll do a quiet prayer. Like he doesn't take that seriously. Even when, Good Stab comes to him with his confession, he's like, I don't really take confession. He's so unserious about his role. It's basically, it seems over the course of the book, it becomes more and more obvious that he's literally just doing it because there's nothing else for him to do.
Yeah. And I thought that was really interesting because, so in that first half, I was sort of getting almost like Silence of the Lambs vibes.
Yes, like the interview vibe.
Yes, I was getting like that Arthur Three Persons was Clarice and Good Stab was, forgot the name of the serial killer in Silence of the Lambs, but that he was like trying to figure out, right, that like Arthur was trying to figure out what happened to these bodies by hearing from Good Stab. Like he was trying to be the detective, and then everything just completely flips as like we get into sort of the really like meat and potatoes of this. So as part of Good Stab's confession, we learn more about this massacre and that there, you know, were two men named Joe who like led the charge in this, and that he believes that they were being egged on by someone, that he heard reports of there was somebody else in the group of soldiers who was like, do it, kill them, do it, just do it. And then after all of this sort of stuff has transpired, Three Persons is sort of at the end of his rope. He is being haunted by Good Stab. He discovers a air vent in the ceiling of the church, and like the dust had been sort of like messed up on one of the beams. And he's realizing that even when there's not a service, that Good Stab is in there like watching him, and everything just gets super creepy. And then we have the scene where he walks in and Good Stab is on the cross, and that's where everything
was terrifying. It like really so takes a turn. Like I honestly, that line, I reread it several times because I was like very confused. I was like, surely not, but he was up there. He was up
There's
there.
No way Stephen wouldn't do this to us. What the hell?
No, it was so crazy, that moment. And like when you think about that visual also is like the Native American man up on the cross after his people have been like destroyed. I mean, the way that he uses metaphor in this book is like incredible.
Genius.
It's like, yeah, this
truly
man,
genius.
Yeah, like Good Stab didn't choose to be a vampire. It was like thrust upon him, and then he does the best that he can. But you know, I think it really does, this whole book and vampire lore in general, it really does just come back to how you look at the appetite. Like I can't get that out of my head, because when we learn about what actually happened with the massacre, that is the point of the massacre. That is why it happened. So we learn that.
Well, hold on. We're not there yet.
Okay.
We're not there yet. We have to talk about the confrontation in the church before we get there. So right before Three Persons finds Good Stab, the confession that happens before that moment is when we learn that the Catman has returned. That
we gotta talk about Catman.
The Catman that turned Good Stab into a vampire, who Good Stab thought was dead because in that initial fight, he had gotten bisected by a gun, by like a mortar shell, and then burned alive.
He was two-part Catman.
He was two-part Catman. He was chopped. He got chopped in half.
He got Darth Mauled, basically.
And then set on fire. So he was like, okay, he dead. Cool.
Yeah.
Like, turns out it takes a lot more than that to kill one of these things.
Takes a lot to kill a Catman.
Takes a lot to kill a Catman. Over the course of many, many years, Catman nursed himself back to health and has returned. And so they have their first confrontation, and he gets the hell out of there. And there's all this other stuff that happens, but we're not gonna
actually, can we talk a little bit of Catman, just a little bit? Because he says that he's 400 years old. Like, he is so much stronger. He's so much stronger than Good Stab. And he's like so mocking with like his plight. It's like, whatever you think you're going through right now, it's nothing in the span of history, which we now know to be untrue. But the way that he treats him, it's so mocking. He basically acts like there's nothing he could ever do to him, and he's just excited to like destroy his spirit and destroy him and the last vestiges of his humanity. And I want to know who Catman is and where he's from. And I know we won't learn, but I feel like he's Spanish.
Well, so we know he came from Europe.
Right.
We know he came from Europe
or something?
Because he says that he arrived on a boat. I don't think he's a conquistador. I think he's Inquisition. The Inquisition was like the incredibly religious fascists in the 1600s.
Yes, he is giving religious fascist.
Yes.
But it's
because what I thought was interesting was obviously these two people, Catman and Goodstab, are playing by the same set of rules as far as like the vampire part goes. But the Catman was giving me more sort of that traditional
appetite,
European, Eurocentric vampire that we're used to.
Yes, he
very
was so
cocky,
creepy.
very arrogant, very creepy. Like it was very much that Lestat sort of vibe that we're sort of familiar and comfortable with. And so I think that to me was interesting, that dichotomy between those two people. And all credit to Stephen Graham Jones here. His ability to write such different characters and be so thorough with the like souls of these people. I mean, when you're reading Etsy at the beginning, she's obviously very different than Arthur, three persons, because there's a 100-year gap or whatever. But even then, the difference between Arthur and Goodstab and the way that the writing is done makes it so clear that these are coming from two separate people. Like, it's just wild. I mean, I've read so many books where it's like multiple POV, but you can tell that it's the same person writing it. Like, and this was so...
Yeah, it's so differentiated. There's such obviously different people. It's amazing. And so we get this showdown between Catman and Goodstab.
So three persons, Arthur goes into the church and finds Goodstab, and Goodstab attacks him and like strings him up and starts lighting fires inside of the church. And as the church fires are being set, it's starting to reveal the dead bodies in the church. And it's like the sheriff that had gone missing. It was his four friends who used to hang out outside of the hotel and drink, which is a whole funny storyline that we're not going to get into because we only have an hour. And then there's also the bodies of the men that they had found skinned outside the town. And that's when Goodstab reveals, he knows that three persons is the soldier who caused the massacre to happen, and that these men were his descendants. That after the massacre, three persons had acquired the services of a lady of the night, and she had gotten pregnant and went to San Francisco and gave birth to her son, who is also three person's son. And then that guy gave birth to three sons, and Goodstab went to San Francisco, got these men, hauled them back to Montana, and killed them one by one outside the town in order to like hurt him. But Goodstab didn't realize that three persons didn't know that these people related to him until that moment.
That scene is really crazy in the church because the way it's written and the way I kind of read it, it almost seems like a hallucination. Like the wild hallucination of a man that's terrified, inhaling smoke, thinking he's about to die. Like the way that it's described, it's so dreamlike that it has you guessing like, is this real? Could this actually be real? Because the sheer amount of bodies that are in there, it's like, how do you not notice this? And then like...
I thought that too. I was like, wait a second. You're telling me that you didn't know?
Yeah. Atmospheric quality of that scene makes you really doubt, like, is he just losing it? Or is this all really happening?
Yeah. And it was so horrifying the way it was written too. Like, obviously there are other parts of this book that are sort of scratching the surface of horror in that like the things that are happening are horrific. But for me, that scene in particular was quintessential horror writing. It chilled me to my core as this is happening. And this sudden flip of the power dynamic where that entire time leading up to the confrontation in the church, Arthur feels as though he has this power over Goodstab because he could at any moment just turn him away from the church. That Goodstab's, putting himself out there to give his confession, and Arthur is the benevolent priest who's allowing this confession to happen. And in that moment, you realize that this entire time, Goodstab had been playing him, and he just crumbles and loses it. And then that's when Goodstab says, I have one final confession. And that's where we learn about the confrontation, the final confrontation with Catman. And so take it away.
So he wants one specific person's blood. And so Goodstab.
Yeah, she's the avatar of the world. It's crazy.
Yeah.
The once in a generation, the purest blood.
So Goodstab comes up with this grand plan. So he says, okay, I'll go get her for you. But let me do it on my terms.
Catman At this point, Catman had become the chief of one of the Blackfeet tribes, that he fed on enough Blackfeet that he looked like one, and has become the chief of the tribe that this girl lives in order to get
he
close to
didn't
her.
know their ways. And that, I think, is very important. He looked like them, but he didn't know their ways. And so he was having them do all these rituals and ceremonies, and they were like crying.
Bastardizations. Yeah.
They were crying because they were like, this is not when we do this. This is not correct. Like, so basically it's like he's observed enough to know that these things happen, but he's still obviously an outsider, but because he's their leader, they're following him. And so, Good Stab goes and gets this girl, but he has this plan. He's like, no, we're gonna feed on her at a place of my choosing. And so he goes and he gets her. And one part that made me really sad when he's going to get this girl, he says like he's like carrying her, and she like puts her arms around his neck, and he's like, I felt like a father. It was like the closest he felt to like being human that he probably had in years.
Because he had wives and children before the massacre. It's sort of like kind of talked about.
It's very vague. It's extremely
we know that his wives
vague.
and children were dead, but we don't know necessarily how they died. But I feel as though they died in that massacre, which is part of it.
Yes. This
like
is
part of the reason for his revenge,
yeah,
is because they died.
And so he goes and he gets this girl, and when he says like, I felt like a father, I just like wanted to cry. And that really speaks to his writing. I mean, I don't like cry at a lot of books. Like, it's really moving. And so he like gets this girl, and they take her down by the water, and Catman goes and he starts to like drink her blood, and from his face it's like the best blood ever. It's like just the best, top shelf. And good
top shelf blood.
Good Stab knows from a prior experience that his own, like, what is it, blood or spit tastes really bad. It weakens.
Well, so there's a part of the rules of this vampire world is that if one vampire feeds off another vampire, it weakens them severely. Because he, in some fight with Catman in the previous confession, had gotten the blood of Catman in his mouth, and it knocked him out for like 2 days. And it was like a small amount that he was out for 2 days. So he knew that if he was able to get his blood into Catman, that it would cause Catman to be basically rendered unconscious for a very long time if he could get enough of his blood into him.
So he bites the girl and like injects his fluids into her bloodstream.
So Catman bites the girl and starts feeding. Good Stab bites his own tongue to open up his own blood, bites the girl from the other side, and forces his blood into her like you're like, you know, pushing a spit wad through a straw. And then his blood gets sucked up by Catman on the other side of her neck, which is brutal.
Right. This poor girl. It's like so horrific. But it basically immobilizes Catman. Got him. And he's totally weakened. And this is where the you are what you eat thing comes into play, because Good Stab in Catman's weakened state only feeds him fish. And so over time he becomes more fish-like and gets fish-like qualities to the point that he's actually just fish. And
he turns into a 7-foot sturgeon.
He knows that even if he gets in the water and feeds on fish, he can only eat other fish. So he will just continue to become more fish-like. So basically that Catman is now a fish man. And that also freaked me out too, because it makes me think of these like creepy lake stories or creepy stories about rivers. And my mind just plays tricks on me. And I'm like, what if there is a vampire fish in this lake and he's an ancient fish and he's going to feed on me? I'm like, I have a new fear now. I have a new fear of a vampire fish that has been alive for 600 years. He's waiting to find that human that will make him human again. You know, it's a good story. I could go for a sequel, but
what I loved about this idea was it ties back to the theme that they talk about of like inevitability, right? That America's coming whether you want it or not. get on the train or you're going to get hit like the
Mm-hmm.
Pinkerton man.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we get to this point where, you know, he realizes, because Catman gets knocked out and he like chops him up into tiny pieces and like stakes the pieces into the ground so he can't run away and starts feeding him fish. He realizes he can't kill this person.
It's not going to happen.
This person is inevitable. All you can do is transform the inevitable into something that keeps you alive.
Right.
And I don't know if that was purposeful with that connection, but that's where it tied back for me, was this idea of, I don't know, this feels really reductive to say, but like making the best of a bad situation. And
yeah,
which is
I mean,
a
holding back
terribly
the monsters,
simplistic. Yeah.
Holding back the inevitable. I mean, you could even view like the expansion of, you know, those white colonies and settlers as that, you know, it's the inevitable. I think there's a lot of like macro themes. Like there's a lot of themes that relate back to the things that are happening. I think you did a really good job of, you know, it's not just a story about identity. It's not just a horror story. I think it's a bigger story about humanity and about history and about what we've like done.
Yeah. What I found interesting about this section in particular was the previous section, the confrontation in the church, was so high energy and visceral. And the way that Goodstab was talking was so demonic. And then we like hard pivot into this like very emotional, heart-wrenching section.
Yes.
And so both of those pieces landed so effectively. But what I thought was really interesting was this dichotomy of Goodstab, how he has changed over time. That when he was still fighting Catman and he was still trying to like save his people, he was still viewing the world through the lens of like, every action I'm taking is to help the people around me. Yeah. And then by the time he gets to 1912 and the game is lost, he is just pure, unadulterated revenge rage. Like those two like pieces I thought was so important and made him so interesting. Like he really doesn't have the ability anymore, because of what has happened to him, to, once he feels that hunger, he has to satiate it somehow. And what started as the physical hunger for blood has turned into the hunger for revenge. And he lays out his trap so effectively to get to that point. And then we find out about this final battle where he is like, I have to take out this person. I have to take out Catman somehow. Right. But the only way to do it is to sacrifice my own. And it's just devastating.
It's so
absolutely devastating.
And I think it's so sad because it's like, before this happens, he goes away because he doesn't want to feed on his people. He's accepted, okay, I'm a monster. This is terrible. And he is like feeding on people that are about to die. He's trying to do it the ethical way. And then he starts feeding on trappers and the people that are hunting the buffalo. And he's basically like trying to, in some way, like hurt the people and feed on the people that are causing the problems, right? He's trying.
What I think was interesting about the whole, like the section where he is the buffalo hunter, right? The name of the book. Like during that section, he starts by feeding on like the white men that are skinning the buffalo and poisoning the meat and leaving the meat to rot in the prairie. And then, but he doesn't take any scalps, which he becomes the name that they start to use in the community for this monster who's doing this is takes no scalps. And he eventually realizes that the buffalo hunters aren't just white men. And he comes across a pack of his own people who are doing the same thing, skinning the buffalo and leaving the meat poisoned. And he gets enraged by it. And he was like, you know, we don't do this. Yeah. This isn't us. Like we use the buffalo. Like we don't just skin it for the cash. And they look at him and they're like, well, we also take scalps. Like they fight him on like a rhetoric level, basically, of being like, don't judge us for our actions when you have also given up what makes us us. And he has this like moment of transformation from it. And I was just like,
yeah, there's a lot
this
of
book
really,
is not silly. This book is not fun. This episode is so serious. No.
I know.
We are going to get into some giggles, though. We are going to get into some giggles.
I know. Well, I think it's so crazy that he's like out there and he's like protecting the land, protecting the buffalo, trying to protect the old ways. And then he goes home and then Catman's there bastardizing like his people and their like traditions. And so And then Catman literally says to him, like, well, you don't look like one of us, because he's been feeding on white men. So he has that look, and he's like, maybe go away
like a
for
big
a
bushy
while
beard.
and we'll see what you look like when you come back. You know, and it's just like, it's so layered. It's so good.
It's devastating. So
it's so good.
Everything falls apart, and we get to the end of the journal where 3 persons / Arthur is running away from the church. And that's how it ends, right? Because he leaves the journal in the church.
He's fleeing for his life, and he was known to have just disappeared. So we know that he disappeared. That is established very early on when Etsy is talking about him.
So we hard cut back to Etsy, who is at this point transcribed the entire journal and has tried to pitch it to the University of Wyoming to write a book of this journal and sell it as, you know, a historical document. And they're like, we're not selling this vampire narrative as a historical document. Like, this isn't happening. And she's like, but I've done all this research. I can verify all of these things. Like, sure, I can't verify the vampire part of it, but like, I can verify, you know, like his lineage.
Written. Yeah.
Like, I can verify him as a person. And, you know, whether or not then the vampire part of it is real, it is still a very interesting and compelling narrative written by somebody, like a first person perspective of this time and place, which is still an important document to exist. And they were basically like, no, we're not doing this.
And
like,
she throws a tantrum.
Huge tantrum. I hated
Which
her.
was annoying. Yeah, I like truly from the beginning was so uninterested in her character. Like Betsy.
I honestly thought,
Etsy.
I thought when the book started and it started with Etsy and then jumped into the journal, I thought it was going to be sort of like V.E. Schwab's Buried Bones of the Midnight Soil, where we were going to get more flipping back and forth.
Yeah. Thank God.
I thought it was
not like that.
Thank God we didn't. And I was kind of like, towards the end, before I got to where we got back to Etsy, I was like, oh, I kind of wish that he had like interjected a little bit more of her throughout. And then we got to the part at the end with Etsy, and I was like, thank God he didn't.
I know.
I would have been so pissed.
And you know what I was like laughing about? I was like, a perfect example of one of those books that's doing the diary format and did it perfectly. Like we were talking about like, maybe it's not like that great of a like storytelling technique. Now I feel totally confident in the book that I am writing. I'm like, you know what? I'm keeping it. This is great. I'll be fine.
But like the book is 420 something pages long. He could have chopped the Etsy section in the front, the Etsy section in the back. It would have been 360 pages and I would have been fine.
Yes.
The whole Etsy thing was so unnecessary. I don't think the ending elevated the story at all. So at the end, we get back to Etsy. Her life is falling apart. Her cat has disappeared. And she's at home one night, freaked out because she's hearing sounds. And she had started seeing shadows sort of move where they shouldn't be moving. And she is in her apartment, and there is a person there with a bull head or a bison head. And she realizes in that moment that that's Goodstab, that he has found her. And she knows from the diary that Goodstab had been trying to murder all of Arthur's family. So she's like, shit, this guy's going to kill me. And he's like, no, I don't want to kill you, but I do want to give you something. And in her living room, he somehow was able to bring in a 7-foot prairie dog.
I hated it. I hated the prairie dog. I hated it.
Arthur. And I was just like, what a beautiful novel that the ending is just so crazy. Like, it's so unnecessary.
So wait, let me say one thing. I don't think that it should be cut, and I think this for one reason. So when we talk about the massacre, I'll convince you. I've been laying the groundwork to convince you this whole time.
Sneaky.
So when we read about what happened with the massacre, and we learn that Arthur was the one egging everyone on, before they went on their little trek and ran into the tribe, he had been eating porridge. He loved it. He was devouring it and wanted more. And on his journey, he had a little rumbly in his tumbly. And when it came time and they saw the tribe and they were like, well, what should we do? And he was hungry and he wanted more porridge because he's little piggy wiggy. He was like, there are Indians. Kill them.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? He just wanted to like get home and eat. This man was so gluttonous that he was like, let's just kill these 200 people because I'm hungry. Like, can you just get it over with? He makes the point that he never laid a hand on anyone. He didn't kill a single soul. He he didn't lift a finger with this whole massacre, which in his mind somehow absolves him in some way, but he just wants to go home and eat some porridge. He's just that hungry. Like his appetite is so big that it's like, okay, let's just kill all these people. So when we see him manifesting as a 7-foot prairie dog, you kind of see the manifestation of who he is. Like he's small and weak, but he's like so overgrown by his own hunger. And he's like, he has like these little arms that like don't really do anything. Like he tries to like catch. He's like a manifestation of his own hunger. He's so enormous because like he just wanted to devour everything. And if he's being fed so much, like you can tell that Goodstab did not withhold. He was fed all the prairie dogs he could eat, you know? And I think that's like a big part of why I think it's not as annoying of an ending. Like visually, it's horrid, but I do think that it's important to see like the ugly and frankly embarrassing manifestation of what he's become and what he's been all along.
I mean, he definitely is reduced to nothing, right? Like he saw himself as this big, powerful thing and has been reduced by Goodstab to just this giant wiener dog. Like
I don't even think he saw himself as powerful. I think he just was existing. And I think that's a big part of the story and the narrative.
I don't think he saw himself as powerful, but I think that he relished in the idea that he projected power. Because he talks about how the townspeople keep bringing him food because they feel obligated.
I don't think it's about power, though. I think
I don't think it's about power for him, but I think he enjoys having power. Like,
I think he enjoys people making him food. I think it's as simple as that.
Fair.
He found a job where he was going to be comfortable and taken care of. And he wasn't going to have to worry. He can get his alms and he can just eat and relax and give a blessing every week. When you think about it in that way, he is just getting by. He's being totally taken care of. Like he doesn't have to lift a finger. And I think that's who he is. He's hungry and he doesn't want to give back. All he wants to do is take. And I think that's a reflection of, you know, the people that were making that journey during that time. And I think that's a great reflection of, you know, how religion is viewed in a lot of different ways. It's like, take, but what are you giving back to people? How are you, you know, guiding your flock or whatever? You're not. You're just, you know, making your demands and you're gorging yourself off on like what people give you. And so I think that when you see him brought low, and like a manifestation of something so weak and like bloated, it's the manifestation of what he's become. But I do think that Etsy is so annoying and weak, and I think that she's just like him.
The length of that whole section was just so wildly unnecessary.
She leaves her apartment. She abandons her apartment because she doesn't know what to do with this prairie dog.
Before she does that, there's like 20 pages of her going back and forth with this apartment manager where she's like, no extra pets. And she's like, it's not a pet. The sound you hear is my drunk brother who is losing his mind over the fact that our father died, when in reality, she doesn't have a brother. Like, and she is sent a Bible that her father had that had notes in it. And one of includes 3 persons' confession of what happened during the massacre. And that's how we learn about that. And everything up to what in the book is described as part 2, but it's like the last 50 pages of the book. Everything up to that point was so powerful. And honestly, I don't use this a lot because, you know, our role here is to not criticize necessarily, but like talk about the books. It's so perfect. Like there's nothing else I would have changed about this book. And to be hit so hard by this section that I thought was so unnecessary in its length and its context, I was just like, what the
I think that there's something important about it. I really do. I know that it's irritating because it's like, why would anyone behave in this way where they're like, okay, so my family did this and here's my family making a mess of my life. My past is coming back to haunt me. I literally am going to like lose my housing because of this like nightmare that I'm living. And she is pissed that she's not, you know, getting the job that she wants based on, she has no control over it.
Yeah.
But I do think there's something to be said for like, she's just like, I don't know if I'm going to get hate for this, but she's a white person and she's refusing to deal with the past in a like meaningful way. And ultimately, she erases it. It's
which I also
at the
thought
very
was really
end, it's erasure. And so she learns this whole story of something that's like devastating and heartbreaking and erases it. And I think that's why it's poignant, because he's saying, like, you can learn all this and you can still choose to literally, with your father's ashes, erase what has happened, or at least attempt to. And I think that even though Etsy is an annoying character, I think she's supposed to be annoying. I think she's
But I don't
supposed to be
understand
terrible.
why, because she talks about how she's doing this. She's deleting the pages and going to the museum and destroys the pages, and she basically erases all evidence of any of this that has happened. And she says she's doing it because she believes that that's what Goodstab wants. Why would Goodstab want that to happen?
Yeah,
Like
I don't think
that
he
to
wants that
me,
to happen.
I think
I think
she
she's
misinterpreted.
delusional. Yeah, I think she's stupid. Think he's making a statement with her character. The way she acts is like, I was meant to be here. I was meant to learn this. I'm listening. I'm learning. I'm reading. Right?
Do you think it's like a critique on woke white people?
It's a critique on us.
Yeah, it's a critique on us.
It's a critique on us. And that's why we're so irritated with it, because it's like, who would ever act like that? And like, even when you look at what's happening, like with our government and education systems, so many books are being removed. And it's like, it's erasure. He's talking about erasure of these stories.
And she thinks that she's doing what he wants by, quote unquote, moving past it and starting fresh, which is something that we hear a lot in the media.
Yes, exactly.
Of like, well, if we don't talk about racism, then it's not an issue. And so, oh my God.
That is why it's such a horrible ending, because it's just reality. It's not the ending we want, but it's the reality. The ending we deserve. It's the reality we're living, God. And so while she is super irritating, I think that it's an important message, even so. Yeah. I think this book is great. I think it's like I said, don't read this book quickly. Savor it, read it over time, reread passages. I think if I had
the choice of how to read this book, I would do, in every sitting, I would do one Arthur section and then one confession and then put it down. And then come back to it. Read one Arthur section and one confession, put it down. I didn't get to do that. I didn't have the privilege of doing that. I also, like Jessie, sort of put this off until the last minute, and I finished it last night because there's just a lot of books that we have to read and want to read. And so I wasn't able to go through it slowly. It also took longer for it to arrive than I thought it would. So that's super fun.
And it takes longer to read than you expect, because you really do have to sort of immerse yourself in the language and really pay attention to what you're reading. Because
as modern readers, we don't process that cadence and vocabulary the way that it would have been in 1912. Like, we have to sort of reconfigure our brains in order to take it in, which again, to the credit of Stephen Graham Jones, he does in such a fantastic.
His prose is beautiful.
Like, it very easily could have been written in 1912. It was brilliant, absolutely incredible. I'm so happy to have read this.
I know.
I've enjoyed other Stephen Graham Jones books, and I am gonna get, I think it's called like I Was a Teenage Slasher or something.
Oh,
one of
his
more recent ones. I do want to read that as well. So that's on my like personal TBR, but it's so good. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it's definitely one I'll be thinking about. I'm definitely gonna gift it to people.
Yeah. Sorry that this episode was a super downer, but
I know, but it's good. Some of
the books we're gonna read are not gonna be like fun, silly, campy romps. We're gonna try to mix in some like more important literature, which I think is a good piece of this too. Speaking of, our next book for the month of September is going to cover the one, the only ML Rio's If We Were Villains. And I am scared.
I don't know what to be scared about yet. I'm just going to go into it blind.
I know it is very polarizing.
Yes.
So that episode is coming out on September the 15th. On September the 1st, we are going to have a Gay Panic episode where we're going to be covering TJ Klune's We Burn So Bright. On September 8th, we're going to have the book report where we're going to cover all of the books that we read in August.
That's my
so make sure you
birthday.
join us for that as well. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Threads, follow us in all the places. Every once in a while, one of the authors starts engaging with us. Shout out Ryan LaSala. So that is Plot Twist. Again, join us on the 15th, where we are going to cover If We Were Villains by ML Rio. As always, the book is going to be available in our bookshop.org. The link is going to be in the bio. So yeah, that's all I have.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.